Hey, Farva, what's the name of that restaurant you like with all the goofy shit on the walls and the mozzarella sticks?
Welcome to the Cam Shenanigans podcast.
You mean Shenanigans? Oh, you're talking about Shenanigans, right?
Where Mike, Trent, and Zach, and a guest will debate all things automotive.
Our shenanigans are cheeky and fun.
Yeah, I mean, his shenanigans are cruel and tragic.
Make sure to check out Cam Automag on all the social medias at Cam Automag. And don't forget to support our sponsor, Hustle Energy.
All right.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to episode number 4 of Cam Shenanigans. If you saw us last week, then lucky you, because that Cam Shenanigans number 4 no longer exists.
Nope. Issue a public apology after that.
Yes. Zach's public apology is being drafted right now.
I'm not responsible for what happened.
I think it was all you. But fortunately, we have a wonderful guest today. Mike, why don't you jump in and tell us a little bit about our guest, Aaron?
All right. Our guest is Aaron Losey of Lone Star Drift. Lone Star Drift is it encompasses pretty much all of drifting in Texas. You can get a Formula D Pro 2 license by competing in the various Lone Star Drift series. He unleashed a street legal series where he encouraged people to build more streetable cars and unleashed a horde of people with 350Zs onto the world. And now I'm not super... Yep, there it is. He knows what he's done. He's not apologizing. And if you've been on YouTube in the last couple of weeks, looking at anything car-related, you have seen Drift Week 2 footage, which is a little endeavor that he has thrown together where he takes some fun drifters and they go across the country hitting a bunch of different tracks in a very short amount of time. And oh, by the way, they really have to drive from track to track. And Brandon Wicknick has been on both of them. And, well, listen, the wider world got to see what Wicknicking really is. So, Aaron, thank you for joining us tonight.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Yeah, it is a pleasure. You've been a very busy man these last few weeks. Drift
Very
Week
busy,
2,
yep.
Yeah, Drift Week 2 ended. You're already looking at Drift Week 3 planning, and then you had another drift event in between.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah.
Yep, I did Drift Week 2, which was really about 3 weeks long for me, but about 2 weeks long, plus the travel time to get back and forth for the competitor. I wouldn't say competitors, the people that did it. And then I went straight from that over to Hallett Motorsport Circuit up in Oklahoma, did an event, and then directly from there, straight out to Oregon and Seattle area to start researching Drift Week 3. So I've done, I don't know, like 15 states recently. Some of the guys like Brandon Wicknick, who didn't even host the event or anything like that for Drift Week 2, completed, I think, 7,500 miles of street driving their drift cars. And then they did, I think my guys did 9 days of drifting. And then the bonus guys like him, they went back to Mid-Pond. I think they did 10 days of drifting on track, plus all the time getting back and forth and everything. And then I went immediately to do another one. And then I went out to multiple places. We did like 3 days of drifting. Some of the days were real light to go research Drift Week 3. So yeah, I was going to say I drift a lot. I like 14 days of drifting in the past 3 or 4 weeks or something. I don't know how to measure it. But normally that's actually not even as much as we normally do in this time frame. Normally I host Lone Star Bash and then fly directly to Japan and spend a whole month drifting in Japan. So
not necessarily a bad way to spend some time.
Nope. Expensive though.
Just a little bit, just a touch. Yeah, so I take it Lone Star Bash, unfortunately, was one of the many things that got canceled due to the pandemic, correct?
So as of Lone Star Bash is supposed to be...
Oh.
It's really confusing for Lone Star Bash. So Lone Star Bash has always been at the Mineral Wells Airport for about the last, 14 years or so. I don't really remember how far Lone Star Bash goes back. I started hosting events 16 or 17 years ago. And at some point we started having this Bash event And recently, Mineral Wells Airport got shut down for drifting. So we didn't have a place to like host it so it could be really rowdy and huge and everything. So we were doing it out at NOLA Motorsports Park, which we were just at for Drift Week. And it's a fantastic facility with an amazing kart track. And we were co-hosting it with End of Year Bash out there. And this week coming up was, I guess, in like 4 or 5 days. I would have actually been traveling over there right now to go host that event because I'm in a different state. I'm in Fort Worth and that's in Louisiana. But COVID stage 2 restrictions are in place in New Orleans right now. And the COVID police showed up and shut down the whole track, I think 48 hours ago. So we are not going to be able to do that. We're going to reschedule it hopefully mid-January, but I'm not quite sure what's going to happen yet. So we're going to see.
All right.
But yeah, this is the first year in so long we haven't been able to do that. And I hosted 2 drift weeks and I don't know, 12 days of track driving so far on top of that. So wait, 30 days of drifting, I think. I think I still hosted 30 days of drifting. No, 30. Yeah, something like that. Either 30 or 40 days on track. I'm not sure this year, even with COVID.
Either number is still a pretty good number for amount of days. Yeah, especially considering that we, I mean, here with Salt City Drift, our local grassroots organization, I mean, we got some events in. We still managed to have our 2-day Bonneville Bash, but it was kind of tight. We were kind of lucky to be able to do that stuff because we did get some restrictions lifted, but yeah, 30 to 40 days is, man, hats off to you. And I want to go back. Oh yeah, and I want to go back. So I was watching a little bit of the video where it was you and Chelsea today, you two catching up, telling old drift stories. I want to first ask you when you first got into drifting, and then when did you start hosting events?
They were roughly, sorry if I give all too long explanations. I kind of always do that.
That's all right.
I got into drifting. I don't remember when, but I remember the first real event I went to was Formula D 2004 in Houston, maybe. It was their first year hosting events. I think they might have done one event in 2003 or something like that. I don't remember. But they did do the JGTC thing and all that. And I had been watching best motoring videos, like a lot of us had been during that time period. And I don't even remember which videos got me into it. I'm sure it was some type of option videos and best motoring videos. And I was getting these DVDs right when because I don't think I ever had the VHS tapes. I think I was like one of the first people to get into the DVD side of it. And it was just something really cool. And I didn't realize they had drift events and like you could go do them. So we were screwing around on the streets. And then I went and watched a Formula D event and realized I'd met some drifters because this is also early days of the internet. So, I didn't really realize there was a lot of people on forums and like they were getting together. And I went to a Daily Drifter event in like 2004, right after the Formula D event, because I met some people. And then I realized there weren't really a lot of drift events, like one every 6 months or a year going on. And I was working really hard and didn't have time to travel. So I started hosting them as a way for me to get to do them in the city I was in, which was San Antonio at the time. So 2004, I started hosting drift events.
Nice.
So it all kind of happened at the same time period. And also there was no one like, I had more disposable income at the time because I was successful in business. Even though I was pretty young. So I was able to just like write a check and rent a place and it wasn't a big deal and, pay for insurance and do everything and then worry about collecting money. And if you guys have all been to drift events, right?
Oh yeah.
My first drift events, because I had gone to an autocross, I wasn't paying attention to anything. I just went to the first facility, which was a San Antonio Raceway, which they now host events at again. And I went to the San Antonio Raceway and I asked them how much it was. I just wrote them a check, told them we would be there. I don't even think they required me to get my own insurance policy. And I had been to autocrosses. So I'd never thought to charge spectators. So there was no spectator fee. And I charged the drivers $20 each to drive. And then we had like 60 drivers and I stopped and I was like, wait, that didn't pay for that. I was like, that was the dumbest thing ever. But I continued to do that. I hosted them at a loss for at least the first, 8 years, just as like a big joke.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was just fun. It was like,
Yeah.
because, if you guys have been to drift events and I had to go drive out of town to go do one, I figured it was actually cheaper for me to take a big loss and just do them in my own city because my time was very valuable at the time, which I guess sounds funny. But yeah, that way I didn't have to go drive to another city to go do it, because my big thing was I just had no time to do anything. I worked 7 days a week, like 18 hours a day. I slept 4 hours a night, and I did that for like 8 or 9 years.
Oof.
That's a hustle right there.
That is something for sure.
Yep.
Man,
That definitely makes sense, though. The time equation, though, of taking a small loss here and there, but saving all that time and not having to travel, pay travel expenses, all that. Yeah, and it actually was smart in a way if you have that expendable income.
Yeah. And I think that my drift career has been so much dumber than everybody's. I should do a story about this. What do you guys think my first drift car was?
ooh, that's a good question.
It's 2003, and everybody's like, I'm like, what do you go buy as a drift car? And everybody's like, oh, you get a Nissan. So what do you think I went out and I bought?
Did you go out and get like a brand new 350Z?
So I did that, but not at first. That wasn't
not
my
at
first
first.
drift car.
Okay.
That wasn't until 2005 I did that. 2000, you're not going to guess this.
No.
I bought an R33 as my first drift car in 2003.
Well, just really swinging for the fences right out the gate.
Yeah. But it was cheaper than like 240SXs with like engine swaps at the time.
That's
Because those cars were so cheap back then. Even imported, they were very cheap.
oh yeah. Like
And then I loaned it to a friend of mine who totaled it at Formula D, Texas, into a wall. And there's pictures of him like slamming his head into the steering wheel, screaming like, ah. I think that was 2005.
Wow.
Like in the K-rails, it threw the K-rail over and knocked it over and stuff. It was bad.
oh man, that is insane.
Yep.
Let's see.
That's like lore down here in Texas about that car.
So was the
Next
next vehicle the 350Z?
No, I probably had 150 drift cars. So the first ones are really weird. The first one I actually drifted, the first performance car I ever got was a 2003 Evo right when they came to the country. I randomly bought it just because I thought it was interesting. And then I immediately figured out that you probably needed, because I wasn't into drifting just yet, but like it all happened really fast. So then I needed another car. So I bought that Skyline. And then this is all in 2003. Then I bought, next came an E36 M3. And then it was rapid succession of like a dozen 240SXs, an M5, an SR S13, which I still had to this day. I just gave it to a friend. That was like the second ever LS1 swap. And I drove that in Formula D and D1 GP and Nopi and all that stuff. That's the car I had the longest. But most of these cars, I've always been really good at buying cars and then getting rid of them for what I have in them. So when I've had so many of those cars, you could just rapidly, I'm sure you guys do that sometimes well too. Like you go buy 4 or 5 of the same car, you decide which one you like, maybe you sell some for a profit, whatever. You just kind of like cycle through them super fast. I've always had crazy car ADD. In fact, I bought a car today. So like I typically buy like a dozen cars a year or something at least.
Dang.
I just lose money on cars. That's all I do. I bought a brand new RX-8 and then sold it 20. Hold up. I bought a brand new RX-8 and sold it 24 days later.
Well, that was probably a great decision when you sold it 24 days later. You probably were 24 days late in getting rid of it. But the first mistake was buying it.
It was in the shop for 10 of those days. I should have held on to it for longer so that it would have been a lemon. They would have bought it back. But,
they're terrible cars.
They're not great. No. Yeah, no.
Audience members will be like, oh, those are great. Let me tell you this great story. You're like, no, you're wrong. You're so wrong.
The best RX-8 is the one that has very little RX-8 left in it.
Yeah. It's a good chassis. It's just
Yeah.
a terrible motor.
Oh yeah, no, that
Yeah, I did some work at a rotary shop, and lots of
oh yeah.
So what has been the most surprising vehicle that you've owned, that you've been impressed with, that was kind of out of the ordinary?
I don't know how to answer that really. I would think the most surprising experiences I had with cars were cars that were incredibly stock, which I didn't modify, and how well they worked. Because all the cars that I modified really heavily, regardless of the quality of parts, the quality of craftsmanship that we put into it, the people helping me, doing it the right way and everything, typically those cars are always junk unless it's like, say, a hammer of a car, which is just like a V8 240SX or something like that. Those are typically really reliable. But I would say the big milestones for me were in 2005. I was very frustrated with drifting. I had cars that were constantly failing. I would go to an event and the car would break. I'm sure all you guys know like what it's like to break a car 5 laps in when you travel across, the state or the country to do it. So I would take my car somewhere, it would break. I was very frustrated with it. So I went to a dealership and bought a 350Z, like a 2005 brand new, took it directly to an event. Like that weekend, the only time I had to get it, like the only thing I did was put it like a Nismo LSD, which I ordered in advance for buying the car, I think. And that car let me drive so much. I mean, like I must have done, rapid succession 70 days of driving and, a 2-year time period or something, which was crazy for me because I had no time to drive whatsoever. So if I was driving, that meant I had to work all night long and then just not sleep so that I could go do a track day, close by or something else because I was so busy at work. So it was extremely important to me not to have to mess with the car or have somebody that I relied on to keep it running. And then I turboed it and ruined it.
Well, nothing gold can stay.
And then my JZX 100 from Power Vehicles was very similar. It was incredibly reliable, and I kind of forgot all about that reliability for a while because I had a bunch of very modified cars. So my JZX 100 in Japan was like that. My Mustang, that Coyote V8 2011 or 12, I don't know what it was, with bullet holes in it, that thing was crazy reliable. And I mean, when you can just like take a car to a drift event and just like stand there on the limiter, like in grid and like joke, I'm smashing barriers on purpose to push them back into position so I don't have to get out and push them by hand. All the, like we have walls and like you're riding the wall and you can just feel the little expansion gaps in it, like thunk, thunk, thunk. And you're just dragging the bumper around and like the car, no fiberglass to break off. It was super liberating driving that car and I loved it. My Corvette was a lot like that, realizing just adding angle to a car and nothing else that's, built like that was really cool. And then once I got my S13 with the V8 in it, I didn't have cut knuckles from like 2000. It got built in 2007 by a friend. And then I didn't even put cut knuckles in it till like 2009, but it was like the cheater mobile. No one had a V8 240SX back then. So everyone was fussing with power bands and all this stuff, and just driving that car was so easy, and allowed me to focus on tandem and things like that and drive really well. So it made me very confident, because before that I had no confidence in like my turbo car, because a coil pack would go out and you're fussing with it driving on 3 cylinders. You look dumb in front of everybody. You're embarrassed when you go to the event. Yeah, everyone's like, oh Aaron, let's tandem. You're like, oh, I can't, like the car's not working. And from the outside, people don't realize that because you're still going around track drifting, but you have no confidence and you feel like an idiot and you're not driving well. So having that V8 in the car, and it, like, even if it went down a cylinder, you're still drifting, it's still working. Because I was traveling so much at the time around the country with different friends like Chelsea, Denofa and stuff. I bought a big 3-car trailer and we would just stack it with cars, and Chelsea was responsible for getting it everywhere. And I would just fly in. And then I would fly in like the morning of, do like a Nopi event or whatever, and get the heck back out of town immediately. So I didn't have any time to fuss with the car. And remember, at the time period, we had no crews whatsoever. There was nobody helping you change your tires, no one helping you do anything. It was just always a one-man crew up until, I think everyone operated like that, except for Formula D. They obviously had teams, but even when I drove a little bit of Formula D, I didn't have a crew. It was just one friend and I forced him to go.
There it is.
And when I drove D1, I never had a crew member on D1 or Nopi.
Wow.
Nice. Just out there. Just
But I also
here.
didn't take it seriously. This was all like a joke to me. I just wanted to drive and drive with great people.
Well, that is one way to do it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
if that's all you're looking at it for. I mean,
It was, because I never thought the sponsorship could even pay for, if you guys have decent jobs and stuff and lives, if somebody gives you a set of coilovers, it's not going to put, food on the table. It's not going to pay your rent. It's not going to do anything. So very early on, I was very jaded from the sponsorship perspective of everything, or, the prize money or anything else. So I was just doing it for like the love of doing it and for the fun, because I never thought it would amount to anything. Even when I was hosting events, they weren't even breaking even. I didn't break even on an event for, I don't know, the first 8 years of throwing them. And when I say the first 8 years, that was already over 100 events that I threw.
Wow.
man.
Yeah. Well, that's great that you were passionate about it, because that, helps
Yeah.
make up for the lack of other things that happen during it, gets you through those frustrations and whatnot. But at some point it's, those hobbies can bleed you dry. So it's good that, you were able to at least break even at some point and, start turning that around.
Well, I just like the fact that
I was just going to say one quick thing. It's good, but it's also bad because I didn't take it seriously enough. It really probably should have had somebody that wanted to make a living at it and take it really seriously, because those are the people that would push the sport forward. And I was doing it as a joke. So it's good to have people that are highly motivated that could put way more time into it, because I was only putting enough time into it to show up to the event, throw cones down, me drive myself, and let some friends drive. I brought a waiver sheet, like please don't sue me kind of thing. It was just free for all. We didn't really do anything for the first at least 8 years to push the scene forward at all. It was just let's go screw off kind of thing, which meant Texas really stayed stagnant for a very long time before it kind of like started getting good here.
you actually
Sorry,
kind
go
of answered
ahead.
my
Up
question.
there.
Yeah, you totally answered my question.
Okay.
Very good. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the thing with Zach. Just keep talking long enough and you'll eventually answer whatever was popping through his head.
I don't know what goes through Zach's head sometimes, so I wouldn't say that. No, I totally get your point though. Of if somebody was thinking more from the business side of things, they may have been able to push it and do more for the scene and all that. But at the same time, where would you be today if you didn't have the passion for it?
Probably with a lot more money, with a company and all that stuff, doing real estate stuff still. Probably not doing drift stuff. Drifting was very detrimental to, a financial career, owning homes, owning, like a retirement account, doing all of those types of things. So I'd probably be way better off. But I have stories that you couldn't buy now. I've had an amazing life, so.
Oh yeah. I can't. You've got to meet the man, the myth, the legend, Brandon Wicknick, and see what we've all known for years. You got to see that up close.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've known Brandon for a long time, so I didn't have to do all this to meet him.
No, but man, just pointing out that he was doing Formula D with 2 Civic radiators in the back of his car. That was when I watched that. I laughed so hard at work. And
Did you see those in person?
I forgot about them because like I remember when Brandon's coupe, like the longtime competition car, I remember when that was red. So it's been like I've been there through all of its iterations. And God, I actually drove by his house the other day and the Drift Week car was sitting out front, and I mean, he's a good guy. He really wants everybody to get out there and have fun. I'm fairly confident if I went up and knocked on his door and it wasn't a Sunday, I could have made a deal for the Drift Week car.
He did want to sell it, I remember.
I know. He's thrown the idea out. Whenever somebody in the Drift Utah group says, "Oh, well, I've got this much money and I'm looking to buy a car. What do you got?" And it's a lot of like E36s. People are pushing like SN95 V6 Mustangs because there are
Those
a
are
couple
terrible.
there's a couple of dudes who they've gotten their sea legs with them, but now they're ready to move on to something else. So
I was going to say though, considering how cheap the V8 ones are, why would you get a V6 and do that to yourself?
I think it was really one of those, I need a Mustang, here's a Mustang, wait, how many cylinders does it have? Crap. So
Yeah.
No, he always pops in with, oh, well, I've got, you can buy the Drift Week car, shoot me a message.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, I've got to ask, so it is winter here in Utah. It was 40 degrees today.
Yeah.
It is miserably cold. Now everybody is going back to their garages and working on projects, and we are starting to see a bunch of kids saying, hey, I want to make the first event of next season, which is in March. I just graduated high school. I've never really done anything car-related. What should I build?
You're throwing that one kid underneath the bus real hard. Right
Yeah,
now.
you're going very deep here.
Which one? Because this is
They
a
shouldn't build a
yearly
car.
thing. Yeah.
They should buy something that already works, that's complete for exactly what they want. Because you shouldn't learn to build a car the first time you do it. It's a disaster. You should probably just learn to do basic maintenance on something. So you should look at your budget, and you should either buy a car that's fully finished, or just get like a 350Z, an E36, like something really basic, a G35, and weld the diff. I made a video a little while back that I think attacks this problem pretty well. You need to define if you're a mechanic or not. Wait, there's my hand. You need to define your local track size. If you only have little tiny skid pads and stuff, no reason to buy a Corvette or anything. Your budget, and I don't remember the other part, but you should figure all those things out. Think about it in advance and build a car or buy a car that's finished or whatever you're doing for exactly the purpose, the track size, everything. If you're going to do all your tracks at one very specific size, there's no reason to go build a V8, something big. If you don't have the mechanical ability to build something, don't even buy anything that has a misfire yet. Like buy something that's perfect, especially with the depreciation curve of these old cars. There's no reason to buy an E46 328 or whatever you're buying for $600. That's a complete crap car that has no working parts on it and is completely stripped out, versus the exact same car for $1,600. Go for the $1,600 one, the best one possible that was in the best shape, with the grandma driving it or whatever. It's going to be way easier and cheaper to get to your first event. And you just can't. Drifters have the worst mindset in the world, that they have to do everything as cheaply as possible and make money on every car they do and all these different things. Drifters, when you talk to them, guess what? I got this transmission for $100 and it's normally $700. You're like, cool. Well, you just burned off $1,000 of tires, idiot.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say. It's already so stupid. Drifters just love deals, and you shouldn't ruin your first car over getting a deal, like buying a V6 Mustang. Just buy the V8 one, buy the correct one in advance.
Yeah, that's not the V6 car you need to be buying.
Yeah.
I just know I'm going to see a lot more of those. And now that you mentioned that video, I'm going to go find it and bookmark it. And whenever anybody's like, what should I build this winter? Don't.
Yeah.
Look.
I think it's how to pick a drift car or something.
Nice.
I have a handful of people in my friend group who are like, oh, I'm going to go drift a mini truck or insert whatever random idea here. And I'm like, dude, no, go buy a 350Z, go buy an E36, because that's what the community's already driving. And about that,
Yeah. The mini truck doesn't work. I'm sure the people that want those don't understand. They think they slide well, they have a KA, their manual transmission, all these things. You can't operate them on a hot track scenario at a drift event. I mean, you can go screw around and, do donuts somewhere, squiggle around and think you're awesome. And you can enjoy the car. And there are a bunch that were really well built on the internet, like that engineered to slide truck. And there are examples that are great. However, you going to a drift event, the car will be half the speed of the other ones on a hot lap track. They will all hate you. Every single person at that event will hate your guts. You won't be able to tandem with people. You will be a rolling roadblock on track, and everyone will be mad at you. And that's the reality of this situation, regardless of how much you love, hard body trucks or all these things. That's just there's a lot of realities when you go to events. And of course, you don't have to take that truck to an event. You can totally be your little car. You can totally love this Eston, whatever pickup trucks. You're just limiting yourself, and you're not allowing yourself to have fun tandem time once you get to that ability.
Yeah, like
I'm super jaded and like opinionated. Sorry.
Well, we had an argument, I don't know, a couple years back about mini trucks, and I love what you had to say. I think fuels that passion even more.
Yeah, no, we brought Nick Stuckey on, and yeah, a lot of people at the time were like, "Oh, I want to build a drift mini truck," because people were reposting the engineered to slide Hilux, and they were getting bent when I pointed out. I'm like, "No, that is like a CAD designed tube frame thing that happens to have a Hilux body on it. It stopped being a truck long ago." And yeah, we put the question to Stuckey, and Stuckey dropped knowledge, because even though he's willing to do dumb, questionable things, and he loves his Previas, he's not. He's not going to tell you to drift a mini truck. He knows it's a bad idea.
No. And people are like, Aaron, you let one on Drift Week, and I'm like, A, Drift Week is kind of a joke, and it's just for fun and all these things. I was like, B, that was a Corvette.
So there we go. Well, I do want to talk about Drift Week. Because Officer Dan Brockett, who left me on red when I asked him to come on this podcast.
Brutal.
Putting that out there, Dan. Just throwing that out there. No, he posted his video where he talked about his budget for Drift Week, and not including all of his fun problems. And it was, I can't remember how much he said it ended up being in total for him. Like,
I think he said 20 or something.
Something like that, yeah. So, yeah. I mean, were some people spending, would you say that was about average, or was it maybe a little lower, or?
No, I think you can spend anything you want. If you wanted to spend $100,000, you could. And if you wanted to spend like 6 to 7, you could. The entry fee is pretty high. Oh, there's my wife in the background.
Hello.
The entry fee is pretty high. Depending, I'm not going to tell you all the individual costs and stuff just because it causes arguments, but it's 8 to 9 track days in a row. We're transporting your equipment for you. We're doing all kinds of stuff. Let me close another door just in case she walks by that way.
Okie dokie.
So she doesn't have to worry about me. We are doing, oh good, I'm wearing pants still.
Hey.
I will say so some of the guys went and Brandon Wicknick built an entire new car, went through teething pains of that car, did all of these different things, blew an engine, 2 transmissions, had to drive to another state to repair the car, which was not on the trip. All these crazy things. His budget was quite different than, say, Harrison Johnson and Danny Sufi, who I think said they did it without the entry fee for about $3,000.
Damn.
And we had some other teams. So they went all the way to the point where, and they had to buy tires. So they bought 8 tires for the trip. They took them to a road course. They preheat cycled them because they think that makes them last longer, which it does. They were very careful with the way they drove the car. They did all of these things to make it as cheap as possible. They were in a good Airbnb group to make it cheap. So they did a good job. And I don't think it was really that cheap for them. They might be lying to themselves a little bit. But it is possible to do the entire trip for, $4,000 to $6,000 on the extreme low end. Because you have to remember, not everybody has a high budget. And they're very crafty. But I think that the average person is more between $7,000 and $12,000. If you guys have operated drift cars before, if you're going to do a drift day, typically it's going to be $1,000 by the time you factor in tires, some type of entry fee, traveling to and from the event, and some type of breakage, fuel, transportation, food, everything else. So if you're stacking 9 days of drifting together, some of them not even in the same state, I think you can very quickly see how that price, adds up pretty quickly. There are some gentlemen such as Wout from Amsterdam. He had Chelsea Denofa build him an E46 M3 that he bought. He put WiseFab on it front and rear. He put maintenance in it, and then he had it transported from Portland down to Arizona, and then he drove the entire event. And I think the car, I'm not sure, but I think it was how much is a really nice E46 M3 starting price? 15 to 18,000 probably.
Yeah, something like that.
So you could imagine very quickly. And he also spent 2 weeks in quarantine in Aruba before he got here, and then did 3 weeks here. So that's 5 weeks away from home, all these different things. He probably spent, I'm guessing, $35,000. I would guess Luke Fink probably spent somewhere in the neighborhood of that as well. But not everybody has the same budget, and that might be way more percentage of their overall income. The guys that spent $3,000 on the trip, or say 5, because that's what I'm guessing it really would be, their income might be this big, or let's say that big, and $5,000 was this much of it. And then you might have some of these guys that spent $35,000, but that's this much of their income. It's very, way even less. So some people, just like, there's people that do Formula D just as a joke and for fun, and they don't even have stickers on their car really. And they, fly their car internationally and put it inside planes and like do crazy stuff like that. Everybody just has their own, if you're around racing enough, their own budget and their own things. So, and we have a lot of people that were trying to ship their cars in from overseas, like pro level cars for Drift Week 2, and then COVID hit. So you could imagine that those guys could be spending $10,000 just on shipping a car.
Oof.
Yeah.
That would be nuts. And then,
Yeah.
I mean, it would be crazy to see just a bunch of like pro cars going from spot to spot to spot. But I mean,
one other thing, there's guys that drive my Pro-Am or any Pro-Am around the nation or clutch kicker event, and they're spending $10,000 per event.
That's,
I mean, it again isn't even a part of their, like, it's a teeny tiny part of their income, and they don't care. I'm sure you guys, maybe not in Salt Lake City, but a lot of the Californian series and other ones, there's guys, there was several people, I don't want to call them out because some people get embarrassed for spending a lot of money, but there's guys doing Lone Star Drift or clutch kickers or other like grassroots. People don't want to call that grassroots, it's competition, but it's still, dudes in $2,000 cars are still driving these series plus a cage and whatever. But they're competing against guys that are bringing sequentials and supercharged V8s or, turbo S54s or, very expensive drivetrain packages. And we have at least, I can think of, I would think David Mesker's car probably cost between $150,000 and $250,000 to build. I would think, there's probably at least, I think I just did an interview with Ben Hobson. I think he said his car was well north of $100,000 initial build kind of thing. So I was going to say that it's not out of character for these people to spend lots of money racing. It's not new. Everybody's always been doing it.
Oh yeah, no, we our local NASA region, it is full of Lamborghini Huracan Super Trofeos and GT3 Huracans. And there's even an Audi R8 GT2, like the brand new, like
Wow.
300. Yeah. So, and it's a relatively small region, all things considered. But
yeah. So with Drift Week being a bucket list item, people don't want to do it cheap for a lot of them. There are guys that try and do it cheap, but the guys that are very experienced in doing all this stuff, a lot of them have a lot of sponsorship money coming into it too, believe it or not, even if you don't even recognize it from the sponsors on their cars. A lot of the guys got a lot of help from friends, companies, and everything else to do it. So there is a lot of money being spent in it, but it's because it's a huge vacation that lasts weeks and the people are coming from around the world to do it. And if you're traveling around the world, a lot of these guys don't want to. For instance, we did a package where it was $200 to have all your tires mounted and stuff for the whole trip, and we had staff to do that. And everybody's like, yeah, no problem, done. Like, I don't want to change tires on a trip like this.
Right.
Like, why would I want to waste my time when I could be talking to some of the best drifters in the world, just standing around chatting while someone else does my tires and messes with all that? So Drift Week is not trying to be the cheapest thing in the world. We're just trying to give a really cool experience. And the first one was crazy cheap, by the way. It was a disaster, but in a good way.
those are always the best disasters, the ones you can look back and be like,
Yeah.
you know what? Wasn't so bad.
Yeah. The first one, this is a funny thing. I'll tell you a little bit about the first one. The first one was 14 cars. I didn't charge everybody entry fee because some of the high-end YouTubers, they get to do whatever they want. I probably shouldn't have said that, but whatever. But what do you guys think the entry fee was for me transporting all your gear across the country, me buying generators, air compressors, tire machine to go with everything, me having, like a small staff to do everything, me booking all the tracks and insurance and everything so that you were doing 8 to 9 drift days in a row across the country? What do you think the entry fee for that would be?
based on your previous, just talking about how you ran events before, I'm going to say like $1,000.
I was going to say 2.
It was
$1.
You would think $2,000 up there?
201? 2001?
No, just $1. $1.
And what do you think over there?
I think $1,000.
It was $600, and it didn't even pay for just the staff I brought with me. And I was like, oh God, what have I done? So I brought in some sponsor money and everything, but I just wanted to host the event and I wanted to do everything and take a car and all that stuff. So the first one did not even remotely cover the cost of it. But I just wanted to see what I could get done and everything. And with only 10, there was maybe like 12 guys that paid entry fee or something like that. You could imagine there was not any scale of economies that, like as you got more people, it helped or anything because we were so small. Yeah.
I like the analogy. It was the Fire Festival of drift events.
The Fire Fest?
Yeah.
Except we didn't like leave anybody stranded or anything.
Oh, that's
And
good.
we didn't really tell anybody about it. There wasn't really an application process. Everybody was invited. It was just close friends that did it. No one knew where we were going to be. We didn't tell anybody it was happening or where it was going to be or have public days or sell public like spectator spots or do anything. It was just us wanting to go drift and making it happen and having a ton of fun. And it was a blast. And like, we just split Airbnb rooms and all that kind of stuff and all stayed in cool houses. And it was really, really good. But then after that, I realized that if I'm going to be able to eat and do any more of these, I couldn't do a Drift Week 2 or a Drift Week 3 or a Drift Week 4 if I did not properly charge for it and make it work for real. So yeah, you can see how I always undercharge and it's always a disaster. I thought it would be funny, by the way, a long time ago, 12 event season pass for Lone Star Drift was how much?
Oh, geez.
So you get to drive 12 events.
$300.
It was $240.
Wow.
And I went low. I was like,
And then-
after like 800, let's go lower.
Yeah. So then after a certain point, I was like, I have to stop doing these elaborate jokes on myself and like start charging accordingly.
Oh man, but sometimes the best own is a cell phone, and that is Mount Rushmore of a cell phone.
But we also didn't have staff or anything. Like I just came out, I threw down cones, you signed a waivers, you came in, there was no one at the gate. Like it was just, we would get a keg or something like that so that, at the end of the day, a keg would get opened up and we'd have a party. It was like the most simplistic thing. And then after a while, I realized I really couldn't host drift events that way. Like we needed flaggers and we needed, staff and tech and like all that kind of stuff and to take it seriously. But in the beginning, you didn't need to, because like every single person, I would just be like, I know him, I know him, I know him, I know him, I know exactly what their cars look like. I know everybody on a first name basis. I've been inside all of their houses. So everyone was trustworthy. But as the events grew and we got, to 120 people or something like that, I didn't know who the hell anybody was anymore.
Yeah. So you mentioned previously that you used to have a lot more disposable income to put down these events. Did you lose all that disposable income by putting on these events?
No, realistically, the events weren't that big of a draw on me because I was running a business with like 15 employees and just the scale of that size and stuff. Something like that is way different than just hosting joke drift events.
Right.
Those weren't any type of problem compared to even just, paying one employee kind of thing. So.
Yeah, no, I understand. I'm been in that boat as well, so I understand.
Yeah.
But
so the drifting was just like a side joke. It was not something that needed to be managed or make ends meet or even break even. It wasn't a big deal. But once you stop having an income, then it becomes a big deal.
Hey.
Yeah.
So one of our earliest fans of the stuff that we do, Luke Dreyer, he's a nice guy, has a Nissan Primera that he is a big fan of. He wants us to ask you these two questions, humor him by asking you these two questions. First, he wants to know if you have considered our local track, Utah Motorsports Campus, for Drift Week 3.
I don't even know anything about the track. I have not planned out Utah. Drift Week 3 is going to be in the Pacific Northwest. I don't know how far that is from Utah. I would imagine it's at least like 14 hours.
Yeah, depending on where you're going in the Pacific Northwest, yeah. It's close
It's
on the
probably a
map,
bit
annoyingly
too
far to drive.
Yeah. Drift Week 3, we're trying to keep really condensed. That's kind of the point of it. So each Drift Week, I wanted to have a big different flavor. Drift Week 1 was going to be the south of the United States, going across during the winter where everything was good weather and stuff. Drift Week 2 was going to be in Japan. That didn't work. So it ended up being, we were all going to be in Japan for Matsuri time. And I decided, because Drift Week 2 had not a lot of planning. Maybe I shouldn't say that. It had an intense amount of planning that was at least 2 to 3 months long. But I did not originally plan to do Drift Week 2 at that time period. I was sitting around one day talking to Adam or somebody, and I was like, oh crap, we can't go to Matsuri in Japan. And he's like, yeah. And he's like, what are we going to do? And I was like, I'll throw another Drift Week because all of us don't have anything to do. And everyone was like, okay, I'm in. And then I was like, oh my God, I have to go plan another of these. And remember, there was no financial reward for doing it. So everybody originally, I don't know if you heard the original story of Drift Week 1, about 3 or 4 years ago, it was like Taylor Ray, Trevor, and Adam and I sitting around a fireplace. And I always ask all my friends this question. I'm like, what's better than Ebisu? Because I took all of them there. I'm like, what is the next big stage of everything? What is the big, because drifting for a lot of us, I've done hundreds of events that I've gone to and hosted. I've hosted more than 250, and I've probably gone to another 200 or something. I'm always looking for some new idea. And I did, I got rid of qualifying. I did a bracketing system. I created Texas Street Legal. I go to Japan all the time. I drove in all kinds of series across the US. I do all these things, and I'm always looking for a new adventure. I've been in the Middle East, I've been to Poland, I've been to South America, I've been to Australia, Japan, doing all this stuff. I'm always looking for something new to do. And the Drift Week thing was, everybody around this fireplace had the idea with me. My headphones might go dead in a minute. I might need to change mics for a minute.
All right.
We had this big idea and everything, but everybody's like, yeah, but none of us are going to do it. You're going to have to do it, Aaron. And I'm like, oh, screw you guys. This is too much work and no one would help. So after 2 years of thinking about it, I'm like, guys, are we going to do this? And everybody's like, yeah, you make it happen. Finally, I just made it happen. So yeah, your long story question, I have no idea about Utah Motorsports Park or Complex. Maybe one day in the future, but at the moment, Drift Week 3 is going to be in the Pacific Northwest. Each one is supposed to have a different flavor. This one's probably going to have rain because we haven't had a rain day yet. It's going to be a much more condensed area. So none of the events will be more than, 6 hours for the entire circumference or straight line or whatever on this thing. And it's going to be, instead of 14 people for the first one, 27 for the second one, this one's going to be probably 36 cars or so.
Damn.
Expensive.
That's a lot of
And
people.
I'm waiting for FD to announce Long Beach or whatever right now to announce the dates and finalize the dates.
All right, because you don't want
Doing
those...
the same thing for my own series too. I'm waiting for all that stuff because of COVID.
Yeah, you definitely don't want conflicting events are always the worst. That is.
Yep. Especially because a bunch of pro guys want to do this one, and I'll limit myself and not be able to have them, or I'll only be able to have them. The last Drift Week, Chelsea showed up for the first day and the 5th track or so. Or he showed up the first 2 days and then skipped 3 because he had to go to some events and then showed back up towards the end. And it's a lot cooler if, Chelsea and all these guys are there for the whole time. And Adam had to bounce on the very last track at Clutch Kickers because he had to make it to Irwindale. But for guys like Adam, he did Formula D, flew directly to, because we were all at Texas Motor Speedway Formula D, all left there directly from there to make it to Drift Week, started Drift Week immediately, had 2 weeks of driving, and then they had to fly out immediately from there straight to FD Irwindale. So that's a lot of stress on teams and stuff.
Oh yeah, that is so nuts.
Yeah.
And well, speaking of logistical nightmares and all sorts of planning, Luke asks, what kind of logistics go into you planning an event at one track for Drift Week? So what is the process of being okay, we're going to go to Pat's Acres? What is the process from it's an idea floating around that pretty little melon of yours to you and Chelsea and 28 of your other friends are bopping around?
So I decide where I'm going to go, decide all these things. figure out how we're going to make it work. I fly out to the facilities. I spend an entire week up in the Pacific Northwest touring all the tracks I thought we would do. I talk to the owners, I talk to the staff, I look at the facility, I walk the grounds, I feel the asphalt, because if the asphalt's not fantastic, I don't want to do it. Maybe one track can have bad asphalt, like the Freedom Factory had really bad asphalt, but it was, going to be cool from a media perspective. The same thing with like the Burn Yard at Irwindale for the Hoonigan thing. So I'll feel the asphalt, I'll check the offs, I'll make sure the track isn't going to break anybody's car, I'll make sure the tire wear is going to be excellent, I'm going to make sure the facility wants us there, and then it has to be a really fun track unless there's some other extenuating circumstance, like the Freedom Factory where it's just a great, media place. I'll make sure all of those things work, and then I will figure out if I can financially make it work, which is very difficult with all the tracks. Especially because we don't have spectators typically, and we don't have anything else going on, like a bunch of extra drivers. I typically try and bring in some locals, but only between 3 and 10, so that Drift Week doesn't come to your local track and you don't get to see, your favorite guys or whatever. That would suck if, the Forrest Wang of this one track doesn't get to come out, kind of thing. So we invite some locals out. And then after all that stuff happens, I have to make a schedule that works in the direction we go. Because you can't go from here to over here, over here, over here, over here, over here, and then like back over there and then over there again. So it's very difficult to schedule all that stuff. A lot of the track time is utilized on weekdays because the tracks are cheaper like that. And then it's just a lot, man. It's very difficult to make it work. Drift Week 2 actually was heading up north more, and we had 2 different tracks planned. And then partway through the planning process, it kind of fell apart on those. Each fell apart for a different reason. So I had to take it to a whole different part of the country.
Doesn't sound like the
and all that
logistic-
happened after I already announced the event and took everybody's entry fees.
Ooh.
Yeah. But when you sign up for Drift Week, I tell everybody it's a rolling shit show. Everything is subject to change. As long as you have a good mentality and you have the amount of time off and you have available resources to reroute yourself and do everything, it's no big deal. I told everybody weeks in advance the new plan for the directions we were going and everything like that. And everybody that's doing Drift Week understands all those things. They're signing up for some crazy, wacky adventure. And they know that it's not going to be all smooth sailing all the time. We are definitely, when we are hosting a different, like I'm hosting events, the first Drift Week had 8 different locations or something like that. That's 8 different track managers. That's 8 different facilities with 8 different problems. That's 8 different problems for my guys at the facility. We're dealing with daylight savings time, making the days shorter so that we really only have until 5:30 unless we rent lighting and, light the track, which we did for multiple tracks during Drift Week 2. So you know what I mean? Like it's a lot of stuff to take into consideration and make work. And it can be a complete disaster since every day you're dealing with different track staff. If you guys have been to drift events, you know what that's like, dealing with different track staff who are like, "What are you doing? You're burning the place down." You're like, "Yes, we're burning the place down. We apologize."
Yeah. Sorry, I guess.
Was that not clear that was going to happen?
Was that
Yeah.
Yeah.
But normally I try to go to tracks that can clearly understand what we're doing and who we are. And now most of the tracks are inviting me out. So it's much easier. And we bring a lot of media. I think we did 6 to 10 million views on YouTube for Drift Week 1. Drift Week 2, all the views aren't in yet, but it's already in the millions. And Hoonigan hasn't released their stuff or anything yet. So we do bring a lot of value to the tracks from telling the world about them. A larger audience and that kind of stuff. Like I was talking to the dude that runs Nate up at Villain Sportland, way up north in the Pacific Northwest. That track is in the middle of nowhere, but with great media, they were able to build up years of drivers coming and having bashes and doing all this stuff. And the media builds up these tracks, even though they're absolutely in the middle of nowhere. And there are drag strips that, have blocks put up around them and they paved some new tracks through there. Excuse me. And if you were to describe that on paper, it wouldn't work. But if you actually have tons of media and show everybody, a great time and all this stuff, suddenly you get 1,000 spectators out there and 150 drivers, and it's this big thing and it's a reality.
That's
So
awesome.
it sounds like you need to come out to Utah Motorsports campus.
Yeah.
I would love to.
Oh man.
I need to research it. I think Brandon was telling me about it before in the Sierra. Is it where the Sierra Kart guys are?
Yeah. Well, it's
Yeah, they were telling me about it too and invited us out. I do need to come out sometime. I am so busy all the time that, and also budget limited. I can only do so much. And I'm going to have a baby soon, so that's going to complicate things further.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Congratulations. And well, it was nice knowing you when you had just a little bit of free time.
Yeah.
Yeah, as the father of 3 kids, let me tell you, it doesn't get any easier the more you have.
Yeah, I don't have any yet, so this is new to me.
Well, man, you're entering a prestigious club of rad dads, so it's a good place to be. Cole, the guy who does the Sierra cars, he's a rad dad. Brandon, rad dad. I mean, you're going to be
Yeah,
in
y'all
good
are in
company.
Utah. Y'all have like 3 wives and 9 children.
No.
Well, two of them on this podcast are childless and wifeless.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Hey guys, can y'all talk amongst yourself for just a second and come up with questions? I'll be right back.
Yeah, for sure.
Just that.
Yeah.
I guess we can figure out what's the next step from here for us.
2 of the 3 of us are childless, and one of us is in fact a child. So,
Hey!
hey, there it is.
That actually happened while he was showing me his Bumble profile before we went live.
Oh
because
man,
that's what children do.
this is
He showed me
amazing.
his age again and reminded me that yes,
While on
he is
air, he's not here. I want to say, so when he cut me off, I was going to say, hey, that's so cool that you're building a community. And then he proceeded to shit all about that for the next 4 minutes. And I was like, oh, fuck, I'm glad he cut me off. Yeah. So are we doing arguments? What's
So I've got 2 in there. One I think we might want to save when we get Gavin on and blindside him because I want to hit him over the head with it.
Well, also time. It's now we're an hour in.
Yeah, we're about an hour in. So I think I'll throw some more in there, and then we can. I mean, I told him at the end we would do one, but seeing as how I also told him we'd keep him for an hour, so we might just want to ask him a question, have him give us an amazing 10-minute answer, and then we'll wrap it up.
I definitely for him. I got all 3 of my accounts are now following him.
Attaboy.
I need to bookmark this Google Doc because I never find it.
I never do too. I go to the old agenda and then I go to like the main doc thing and then it pops up.
I have it bookmarked.
Good. Welcome back.
We weren't saying mean things about you behind your back, we promise.
Nope. You totally didn't miss us. You totally didn't miss us talking about Zach's Bumble profile.
Oh. Good luck.
Yep. All right. So I have to ask you this because you are currently residing in the great state of Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Luke's got a good question. Never mind. Screw my question. Mine's dumb. Mine's dumb. I'll save it for another time. Luke wants to know the bucket list of places that you want to go drifting.
I've been crossing off the bucket list of places I want to go drifting for a long time. I've probably drifted at 100 different places. The places I would still like to go are probably a lot of little places in Japan just to see them. Like I've been to Meihan and Ebisu and Nikko Circuit and a bunch of other places. I end up going back to Ebisu. I've probably spent more than the longest I've ever spent there is like 24 days. And I probably spent 90 days at Ebisu Circuit driving. Some of those are like just working on the car days or whatever. Almost, at least a good 50 to 70 driving on track. And those could be dispersed out to other locations. So instead of doing just all bucket list places, I keep going back to the same places. And I keep spending my budget at a lot of the same places. So I kind of have found a lot of the best places to drift. I think so. Did I say that right? Anyways, you get the point. I would still like to go do like Bihoku and lots of the little tiny places around Japan to go experience them and like mark them off bucket lists. But in reality, a lot of those places you go, even on Drift Week and stuff sometimes, there's a few tracks where you get there and you're just like, all right, I got my laps done. I'm working. It's no big deal if I don't drive all day. How do you say? So like not every track is the best track in the world and you're worried so much about it. And even some tracks, when you get there, you're just like, that's just a check mark. That wasn't anything crazy. And then you get to some tracks and because of varying factors, they're your favorite thing on earth and you just can't get enough of it and you keep going back. I'm so bad at answering stuff. I'm sorry.
No, you're not. You're doing a
I'm
great
spoiled.
job.
I drive so much.
Hey, man. So long as one of us gets to drive so much. I mean, that's all right. My buddy, our collective buddy Joey, he went to Japan and he did go to Ebisu, and he said the best bowl of ramen that he's had was at Ebisu. Like,
really? That's sad.
yeah. I think
That's
it was
a
more
mediocre bowl of ramen, but it just has really good ambiance.
I think
And you
that's
can hear
really
the
what
lions.
yeah, I think that's really what made up for it.
Yeah,
So
it's mediocre.
yeah, like I've seen the picture. I've seen some of the stuff that Alexi's posted. I'm like, it's
Yeah.
all right, but it's
But no, it's absolutely right. That is probably the happiest I've ever been eating ramen. So there's a whole different level of that. There's a bunch of times, I don't know if you guys ever get like blissfully happy where you just like sit there and stare at a sunset and like there's nothing to do and like you're not crying because you're not like emotional or anything, but you're just like, wow, this is amazing. I've had a lot of times in Japan where I felt that at Ebisu because you're worn out and you're having such a good time and like everybody filters off and it's just you on top of this beautiful like mountain and you're up there in your car and you're relaxing and you're just like, I don't need to do anything. You just sit there for like 20 minutes and don't look at your phone or like don't do anything. And like that's how it is sometimes when you're eating the ramen.
oh yeah.
That sounds like the life right there that I'm missing out on.
Yeah. It could be just a sandwich though, and it'd probably be just as good.
Yeah, I mean something. You know, just a can of coffee,
stupid
whatever.
Thing. I rotate every day there while I'm there. They have a bunch of different menu items at that cafe, and every day it's spaghetti or ramen. And if I get the spaghetti, I have to get 2 bowls because I'm big. And then if it's ramen, I get 1, and then we get a little basket of chips, which is just fries, and we share that at the table to fill up. So that's what I eat every day at the track. The really, really cheap people, because the track food is kind of expensive. It's like $12. But because you're in the middle of a zoo, you know, like just like the airport or whatever. How do you say? The really cheap people bring 7-Eleven food up. And they eat like little packages of 7-Eleven food, which is good too.
Yeah.
I never do it though.
Hey man. Sometimes you just need a couple bowls of spaghetti. It's just you know what it is.
Yep.
Alrighty. Well, we have hit that time. Aaron, thank you for joining us.
Wow, y'all actually ended a certain time. This is like not even as long as one of my videos.
Well, I mean, we could go on.
Y'all don't have any better questions? Come on, more questions, and then we'll get done.
Oh, all right.
I'm trying to think if I have anything dumb I can ask.
Yeah.
there's no-
Zach, all you have to do is like think for a second. You'll find something to ask.
We're talking on the spot now, and I can't do it.
You put yourself on the spot.
I know, right? Okay, so
Something important to say, Zach, and then you can interrupt me with something dumb to say.
Jesus.
okay, so me trying to convert my legacy to rear-wheel drive isn't a good idea. Tell me why.
So actually, tomorrow's episode on my YouTube channel is about that. I rode in a 1JZ Legacy. It worked surprisingly well. The engine is completely in front of the stupid strut towers and that thing. The car shouldn't work, but it does pretty well. But it's way too much work and effort unless you just try and be different. And then you just have a Legacy that's rear-wheel drive, which isn't even that special in the end. And it's not going to impress anybody. For the price to build that car, you could literally go buy yourself a Corvette or something way better. And all you're trying to do is put all your money into being different, you know, capturing the front axle. How do you capture? Oh, you probably just cut the axle stubs and leave them in there. To capture the wheel bearings. Yeah, there's a bunch of things like that. Like you need to put an R200 in it. You need to modify that. You need to do all these things to swap that in. And then you still have a car that is a Legacy.
Okay, well, it was good being here. I'm going to head out. No, I'm not doing a 2J. I'm doing the even worse engine. I'm doing the Subaru Flat 6. It's not being built for the drift car. I will probably take it to a drift event because it should be fun. And I can.
That's also included in the episode. The dude actually did the STI EJ25 motor in it, and it immediately like blew up. So like he immediately went 1J. So he's like, oh, screw these legacy motors and Subaru motors.
I don't want a fanboy, but the Flat 6 is a lot better than the 4 cylinders. Not quite much, but a little bit.
Yeah, you're like the dude with the RX-8, like telling the other guy with the RX-8 his RX-8 sucks.
Damn.
You're like, your RX-8's it's an auto. Those suck. You should get the manual RX-8.
As you're
He's just like,
47.
click, turns off the screen.
Yeah,
I totally get the being different thing. I try not to dump too much time and effort into each individual car because that car probably won't end up being any better than just a G35 in the end, which the G35 comes with a better diff. It comes with suspension parts that work. The engine is in a better place. That engine, even though the engine sucks, is a better engine. Comes with a better transmission. Everything comes with better wheel bearings up front. Comes with more angle kit solutions. Comes with tons of things, and then it costs nothing in comparison to doing that legacy swap. So that's why every person that's going to go build a legacy swap for Lone Star Drift is a driver I'm never going to see again, and is never going to like connect a lap, and is going to get his feelings hurt and quit. And I know that in advance. So that's why I always really harshly push people to cars that I know work, and I know that they will have a good time in. And I don't know.
No,
and let's say you do a great job on that car. If there was 10 people, only one person out of 10 would have a good experience with that. If it's just a numbers game.
No, yeah.
And I play a big numbers game.
If I ever do build a drift car, I will eventually. I will follow what the community is doing here in Utah and either do some kind of E36 or Z or G35, like you had mentioned. The Subaru is just like one of those things where it's like, I have all the parts. Let's see what I can do with it. And there's no goal, but I thought I would see what somebody who's actually professional. But I did have a real question though. What's in you've been doing this for what, 18 years now or whatever you said, 17 years?
Yeah, a long time.
Yep.
What's I don't even know the right way to word this, but like the worst car you've seen brought into a drift event, you're just like, why would you spend your time and your money on that?
Subaru Legacy with a 6-cylinder in it.
Damn.
Oh, it's so famous now. That's all I need to hear.
Oh, there it is.
No, the worst car. There's been so many terrible cars. I've seen people come to events, even with a car that you think would work, which is like a G35, and they've taken off the bash bar, they've taken off the core support. There's a radiator only being held in with the hoses, no mounts, nothing holding the radiator on, no radiator fan. And I'll tech the car, and I'm like, this isn't going to run for 5 minutes. They're like, oh, it runs. And they trailered it there. And I'm like, this will not run. This will not work. And the people will argue with me, and they'll blow their engine the first lap if I let them on track. And I'm like, fine, go take a lap, because I'm just sick of arguing with them, and I know they're going to blow their motor. And if I don't let him take a lap, I'm the ass or jerk. I don't want to, however this works with cussing. I don't want to be the guy that just like tells him no. And I'm like, I can either force this guy not to take a lap, but he's eventually just going to do this, or I can let him take a lap and he's going to learn a hard lesson. And then I'm a jerk for that. So no matter what happens, I'm going to be a jerk. So I have let people do that, where I'm sitting there telling them the car is going to blow up immediately if you don't have a fan, and they don't have any gauges in the car, and the dash is completely taken out, and they just like do this junk thing, and the car destroys itself, within a minute kind of thing of being on track. That kind of stuff is the worst things, because you can't talk sense to the owners, and they won't listen to you, and they just think that, everything's going to work out, or like they know what to do. Yeah. The mini truck guys were a really big problem like that. We actually did allow mini trucks, and then we banned them, and then we allowed them again. And the drivers demanded I ban them because they were such a pain on track. And the mini truck guys got really angry about it. And all my drivers were like, they don't come out. They're a pain when they do. Like, do not let them out. So I had to stop the mini truck guys and tell them all they weren't allowed and stuff. And they were all super mad. And then they all pushed their trucks home.
Sad single cam noises.
Mhm.
Oh man. I'm trying to think of a good question, but I can never think of good questions. Damn you, journalism. How dare I waste time and money on you? Let's see. If you're willing, do you have kind of a rough itinerary for what Drift Week 3 would be? Like, where have you been looking? Like, which tracks?
It's going to be probably Medford, Villain, Sportsland, The Ridge, Pat's Acres, Evergreen, and I'm looking for a final track. I might have another in that list. But those are the tracks I'm kind of specifically already physically set eyes on. I didn't go up to Villains, but I know that they run drifting and they understand what drifting is. And I have a very good idea of what's going on there. I already looked at all the other facilities. I test drove some of them. I chatted with the local drivers there. I, get on the ground and feel the asphalt like some baseball player would with grass or golfer would with grass. I look at how far it takes to get everywhere. That's kind of my thing right now. They were under COVID restrictions and lockdowns while I was there, so you couldn't go in a restaurant or you couldn't do any of this stuff. So I'm a bit concerned with that because they're super liberal up there, which makes it a little bit more dangerous to host an event at, just because of lockdowns and stuff, because we just did have our bash shut down because of COVID restrictions. I don't want to host some super spreader event and all this stuff, but at the same time, drifters don't care at all. Like drifters just want to get on track. They don't worry about any of this stuff. So there is probably a fine line to toe, but I ignore it and I don't pay attention to it. So that's my thing. So we'll see. Typically, the first drift week actually was going on while COVID was becoming a thing in China, and people are starting to freak out about it. But we were just like didn't even pay attention. Second drift week, Trump Biden election was going on, and we weren't paying attention to that, and we weren't paying attention to anything else. Like we're off on our own with our own secluded group doing everything, and we're so busy the entire time, we didn't know what was going on with the real world.
But you probably are happier because of that. Because
we were having the time of our lives. It was amazing.
The more you pay attention to that stuff, the more they try and drag you down. So
yep.
Just get out and drift.
Yeah, well, like that's a really cool thing. Like, I would love to try to do media for somebody for Drift Week 3. I'm not sure whom I could possibly do it for, seeing as how
you can sit in the back seat of his S13.
Oh, there we go. Unless he wants to take Bobby with him again, because I mean, Bobby Elaine's awesome dude. Low Eye Photography, give him a follow. No, he did a great job. But I mean, I'll ask Brandon if he's going again, if he will allow me to come and do his media
Brandon's
stuff.
going again. Those guys won't give up.
Good. Then I will start pestering him in the morning.
All of the guys from the first and second drift week get an automatic invite to the next one after that.
Nice.
And none of those guys will give up their spots. So there's actually not a lot of spots for the new guys.
Ooh, interesting.
We had 150 applications in Drift Week 1 for, I think, 10 spots about.
Damn. That's, I'm sure probably a few more for the second round, and Drift Week 3 is probably going to have even more.
Maybe, but after a careful explanation of what's going on, I talk to each person for about an hour on the phone if their application looks different, decent. I first tell them it's very expensive. I tell them they have to have at least 2 weeks off of work. I tell them how to get their car to the start and to the end. I tell them about logistical problems. I tell them about all these different things. I make sure that someone on Drift Week 1 or 2 vouches for their ability to drive and also for their ability to gel with the group. And we don't allow anyone there that won't gel with the group or doesn't have the ability to drive well. And then we let a couple extra people in anyways. And that's how we choose. I don't know where I was going with the question.
I was going to go off on something, and then we got talking about media. No, the thing that I really like about the Drift Week thing is, I come from like a skateboarding background, and like it was always just getting all your buddies and getting in a van, and then just like going from place to place to place, just like a group of disgusting, dirty, drunk nomads, from like city to city, town to town, just blissfully unaware of everything else that is going on around you. And that's what Drift Week really, like, it has that certain vibe. It's just like, no, we're doing this one thing, everything else, whatever. Like, there is a wider world out there, but we are actively ignoring it. Where it has no bearing on us.
Yeah, so we actually looked at skate videos and stuff in the development of, there was the skateboard or BMX one, Road Rules or something like that.
Yeah.
Road Sucks. I forget what it's called.
Something.
All the BMX guys will yell at me about this. But one of the big problems with Drift Week, which we want to be like that, but drifting is so expensive and everybody can't fit in the same car. So they can't all share the same drunken experience inside of a van and be as dirty and simple, because they have to get their cars everywhere. Drift cars are like the most expensive, unwieldy, giant skateboards ever that break constantly, that you can't have spare parts even for it. You have to get into the community to go find all the parts you need in each location. It can be a complete disaster. So anyways, skateboarding is cooler and easier and cheaper and more easy to manage for a project like this. Because with a project like this, I could put 50 top skateboarders at the grassroots level in a bus for the cost of one drifter, you know?
Oh yeah. I mean, like Thrasher, the last few years, they've been doing this thing called the AM Scramble. They just grab like not necessarily the best amateur skateboarders, but the ones that they really like. And they're like, okay, here's a van. Here is a couple photographers, a couple filmers, and a random team manager from one of your sponsors' teams. Go away for 3 weeks and go get footage and photos.
Yeah,
and
that's rad.
I point this out to a lot of people, like in like the paddock at the Salt City Drift events. There are a lot of people just cruising around on skateboards or BMX bikes, and it's just like, yeah, as you grow up, you kind of like you still have your skateboard or your BMX bike, but you replace it with something far more expensive and more complicated. But it still gives you that same.
With age comes a cage. Oh, I do have a question for you guys. You had mentioned seeing Drift Week content online. I don't know how anyone sees Drift Week content or how they interact with it. How did you guys see it and what did you consume? Because I am just like, we're blasting it out and I have no idea who's seeing it, or if they watch the whole thing, or if they watch 2 minutes of it, or if they let it play in the background, or if they just consume their favorite driver's content, or if they try and consume everyone's content, like, or if they just don't see it because it doesn't come into their feed, or if they have to go look at it, you know, like, where do y'all see it? Or is it interesting? What do you like?
Yeah, so for me, it was on YouTube. I'm subscribed to Brandon Wicknick and Dan Brockett, and then Adam LZ and Colette. So I would just like, as their stuff slowly started to filter in, you know, I would watch Dan's Pain. I would get very excited about seeing Adam's big orange chaser. But then I'm like, you know, Aaron is hosting this thing. I'm sure there is something there. So then I like went and subscribed to Lone Star Drift channel and started watching like your interview videos where you tried to sit in the tires with Adam. Was a fun, terrible idea.
Not comfortable.
No, I was sitting in a comfy office chair. My back hurt just watching you try to. But
everything is uncomfortable at Drift Week, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Try a bucket seat for 2 weeks.
Ooh, no. But yeah, no, it was, I would start watching, you know, the people that I'm subscribed to, and then YouTube would say, hey, if you like this, you know, like they have all the different recommended videos. I would just go through and be like, oh, well, here's somebody who was on the trip. Their car looks really interesting. What were they doing? You know? So yeah, just kind of that sort of like.
So it did recommend people to you?
It did recommend people to me. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
My content consumption was vastly different. I would just follow Brandon Wicknick's story on Instagram because it was always really funny. I'm at the gas station in the middle of fucking nowhere doing a tire, or I'm pulling a diff out or whatever he was doing. I can't remember what broke, but
yeah.
I was gonna say most of my drift content comes through somebody posting it on Facebook.
Yeah.
Facebook, really? That's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the resident dad of the group, so you know.
I still have my MySpace. Actually, no, I don't. I never did the MySpace thing.
I don't think MySpace is still a thing.
Okay.
I didn't like MySpace was before my time.
Yes, it was.
So what did you see on Facebook of Drift Week? Did you have anything come through or nothing? Because we don't really post anything at all to Facebook.
No, for me, it was somebody, posted in, like one of our drift groups or something. They found the link and posted it there. So it wasn't like, reshared from somebody else. But
Interesting. Because we do have a Drift Week playlist of just the drivers' content and like maybe Hoonigan or somebody from the first ones. And there's already like over 180 videos in it of just Drift Week content. It's crazy. I don't know how anybody would get through it all. And I don't expect anyone to. I just expect people to like pick and choose like their little favorite character and kind of get a taste of it.
Yeah, I mean it is fun. I've been watching I started watching the Drift HQ video, their Drift Week movie. I got through the first half of it and then work picked up, unfortunately, so I couldn't actually watch it. And I didn't want it to just be on in the background. I actually wanted to watch it. But for some of the other stuff, it's, like if whoever created it, whoever filmed it and edited it, if they're really good at kind of like narrating what's going on, or if it's like the sound of the car, I have no problem with that just kind of being on in the background and then, hearing, somebody talking about something like, all right, well, I had to pull off because this thing's getting hot. We're losing, so much water each lap, or, so like if somebody can explain to me what's going on while I am half-assing my day job,
half is pretty generous. I know how you work, Mike.
Yeah. How was that Drift HQ movie, by the way? I haven't gotten to watch it yet. Was it good?
Yeah, so far so good.
Cool.
Yeah.
I don't even get to see a lot of this stuff that I post sometimes. If it's something like that, which is an hour long coming from another like person that's submitting it to me to put on my channel. But I think we did like 40,000 views on my channel and like 2,000 on theirs. And it looked like a really good piece of media that they tried hard on. So I wanted to push it out and get a lot more eyeballs to view it. So some of that stuff actually gets posted in 2 places. And then I link back to their account to try and get people to go back to them.
Oh, yeah. I'm definitely going to go back because they seem like a bunch of really interesting guys. And at least just the first half, man, their trip goes places, man.
All of the trips did. It was crazy.
Oh, man. Still, I feel... Oh, there was... Who had that that Z4... that the black Z4 that showed up for like the first day? And then, didn't he... wasn't it an accident after the track day? Like after Musselman or something? Oh.
On the drive to Texas, which was a long drive, it was like 1,000 miles or something, he hit a deer at highway speeds and totaled the car out.
Ooh.
So he only got to do his local track in Tucson, Arizona, and then he didn't get to complete the trip because he totaled the car out.
Oof. Oh, that is...
So he came and hung out for a couple days, and I think he took some laps in their teammates' red E30. And then he went home at a certain point because he needed to get back to work if he wasn't going to get to drive the whole time.
Understandable, but man, that sucks.
Crazy.
Like I saw that car and I'm just like, I am super interested to see how that thing does. And then
he drove fantastic, by the way. It worked really well.
Oh, good. Yeah, I'm always curious to see how the later the E90 and later 3 Series chassis, how those things will do once they start getting into our cheap ass hands and we start welding the diff and just playing Russian roulette with that.
I did that with a 335i like 3 or 4 years ago. I welded the diff, I put angle, or I just kind of put some little spacers on the front that I made for angle and put arms on it, intercooler, tune, downpipes, exhaust, just a straight pipe. And they overheat really badly, which is what you expect them to do.
Yeah. Expect them to overheat.
So those cars
and die.
typically, and they go into limp mode a lot. So you'll get out of 3 laps, you won't be able to finish the 3rd without letting the car cool down sometimes. And then every day you're going to have to keep a tuner in the car of whatever kind of OBD2 setup you have so that you can pull the car off track and reset codes constantly because they'll go into limp mode. So you need to flip them off.
Oh. I thought you were going to say, you need to keep a tuner in the car and then you got to feed him. And I'm just expecting some dude named James just hanging out in the back seat with the OBD cable.
No, they're too hard to tune like that. So people don't even really tune them in that fashion.
Oh,
you just like
man.
Android tablet and put like MHD on it, and you just upload tunes like that. But like for the most part, the cars are super complicated, so I'm sure people tune them, but everybody that normally gets a tune just does like an Android tune or a JB4.
Interesting.
That was way too serious of an answer for you just making a joke about a guy in the back seat. Sorry.
It's all right.
Hey, what the fuck, Mike? This is your fault.
I don't know. We can go back to ripping on Zach and his poor life decisions.
Hey! There's so many of them. So.
Well, I mean, listen, none of us in this. Well, the three of us, we've made a bunch of great decisions, and then we've also made some really poor decisions. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to be fair, you're young, Zach. You were what, 4 years old when he started drifting, so.
5.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
this is scary.
Yeah.
Oh, that he's so young. That's why he wants to do a Subaru Legacy, because he hasn't had the spirit beat out of him yet by a car. Just wait until a car ruins your life. When you have like $40,000 in like a Subaru Legacy and it doesn't run, and you're just like hate it with all your passion.
I'm at like $5,000 and I'm at that point now. I'm like, and your buddy is 6-speed now and an R200. Those are expensive.
Yeah.
Diff bushings too. That's hard.
Yeah.
Man.
Cool. Well, any other questions? Before, I don't want to keep you guys forever. I talk forever, so I ramble.
No, it's all right. I'd ask you what you think of the A70 Supra chassis, but I don't want to get made fun of again, so we're just going to keep on going.
Those things are really good. The transmission's fantastic. They're really fast. I have a friend with I guess I have a few friends with fast ones. A friend of mine, I got to borrow his. It was like 650 wheel or something like that. Kevin and Brittany that were on Drift Week with the crop top shirt in every shot with the supercharged Corvette. They bought a Corvette from me and supercharged it for Drift Week. They have a really fast Supra, and it's really well put together and very, very fast. The auto transmission's great. If you wanted to drift it, you have to do something about a transmission or figure out, they do have tuning solutions for those where you can clutch kick them. So it disconnects or disengages the torque converter, I guess, and re-engages it in a way that's like a clutch kick. There's some friends out of Poland that make those kits for the ZF transmissions and the SMG. I guess they're not the SMGs, it's the dual clutch ones and the newer 335s and M3s and M4s and all that. They all share the same sequential transmission.
Interesting.
So anyways, you can do that stuff, and those are amazing engines, and they're really cool, and I think that's a really cool chassis. They look like penis mobiles.
There it is.
Yeah. But they're super fast.
Oh, yeah. No, I think we have a new mission. Once we get out of here, we got to convince Brandon McConkey to, one, get the penis mobile vanity plate, and also get the clutch kick kit, so we can go do dumb things with his car.
Yeah. Good luck getting that past Utah State DMV. It's like pen is mobile. That is what I am trying to put on my license plate.
I am a mobile pen dealer. I sell pens door to door. I'm just trying to promote my business. How dare you?
Well, next Mike's gonna get the ass man plate.
Well, there you go. Aaron, thank you for joining us. Thank you for giving us so much of your time.
See you later.
Thanks for just dumping on me. I appreciate it. I'm gonna be famous.
Perfect.
I'm gonna go to the schoolyard tomorrow to all the kids. It's like famous Steve, one driver was dunking on my Subaru. I'm famous.
It's gonna be great.
I'm not a famous driver.
No,
I'm just trying to save you from that legacy, man. Just trying to save you from
I'm gonna DM you in a couple days and be like, "Here's my shit box," and you're gonna be like, "Get the fuck out of here."
Maybe does it drive?
It did drive. I blew an engine. I fucking won 2 one day.
That's about that.
I wasn't gonna say it. I was gonna leave that one be.
No, I have another engine. It's going in it the next 2 weeks, but
But
never gonna get better.
Nope. You peaked. You peaked with the money shift.
Nothing's worse than when you watch the tack, push the clutch and it stays there, and it comes back.
Yeah.
You really should have just taken that message.
Yeah.
But whatever.
At least you can make fun of the RX-8 guys.
there it is. The's always somebody to take down another peg.
It's
Yeah.
that and mini truck drivers.
Yep.
There's your pyramid. The hard body Nissan truck guys, then the legacy guys, and then the RX-8 guys.
Wait, I'm below the hard body guys? What the fuck?
Wow.
No.
Yeah, their car comes like from the factory rear-wheel drive. Their little truck.
Okay, fair enough. And I don't have to rebuild every 10,000 miles, so I guess,
Mhm.
yep, the hierarchy is right.
Yep.
Yeah, those
There it
things
is.
last forever. They're reliable little things. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Thank you so much, guys. See you
no
later.
problem at all. Thank you. See you.
Bye.
Lone Star Drift on YouTube, at Lone Star Drift on Instagram. It is quality content. He is a good dude. Congratulations on the soon-to-be kid. And hopefully see you on Drift Week 3.
Okay, I'll be there.
All righty.
Otherwise, something went horribly wrong.
Otherwise, somebody's just going to be running around holding an iPad and you're FaceTiming everybody.
Yep.
Just trying to do a driver's meeting via iPad.
I never thought about that. So I have done drivers meetings online, but that's another thing. All right, see you later.
Okay.
Bye.
All right. See ya. Bye. Well, there we
that
go.
was Something.
That was great. And Jake arrived just as Aaron leaves. So, good
God.
job.
I need
Good
to
job,
sell my
Jake.
Subaru.
I'm
I'm
telling you.
gonna fucking DM him. I'm gonna do it. You probably won't
I mean-
ever see it, but I'm gonna do it.
You already know how it's going to end, so why?
I'm gonna do it.
Yeah. You already know where this goes.
I'm not mad at my word.
All right. I mean, pride is a fool's paradise.
And why is it going to take you 2 weeks when you don't work?
Money.
Oh, okay. There we go. That's a valid answer.
There it is.
And energy. And I went grocery shopping today, and that was my whole day. I went grocery shopping. I was proud of myself. I got out of the house.
Attaboy.
Yeah, we talked before you came in. Like he thought he was pretty proud of himself for going grocery shopping today.
I woke up at 8 o'clock. What time did you wake up today, Trent?
4:30.
Silence.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Now the YouTube crew is coming in.
Yeah.
All the messages are coming in now.
Yeah,
So,
now,
where were
Damn.
you people?
at least we had
Luke.
Luke.
Luke is the man.
God damn it. Luke's the MVP.
Hey,
Well-
so next time we have someone like vaguely famous, like, never, this falls on me. Never mind. Next time I'll actually do my research because I thought there was like some like random drift dude, and now I'm like, no, this dude's like actually the shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, so, we'll try and get somebody next time who will burn Zach to the ground just as bad, if not worse.
I like being the whipping block.
Perfect. Yep, there it is. See, I'm thinking we need to just declare an MVP of the episode. Like whoever was in chat holding it down.
Yeah.
There it is. We'll send him a sticker.
Well, so Andrew fucking bailed on us. He messaged me and was like, "The stream's kind of laggy. I'm gonna leave." And I'm like, "You're a fucking rock. You can't leave us like that."
Yeah. But whatever. Shit. Yeah, well now we've had two people that Alexi from Noriaro has okay. There it is. Yeah. That Alexi is following on Instagram. We had Aaron, we've had Jake. Now I just gotta convince him that he's not going to be the first, so there's no pressure. He can just join us. And I can ask all sorts of dumb questions about the RV20.
Well, I'm gonna if we get Alexi, I'm bringing up the legacy. It's like
gee.
quality content right there.
Jesus.
Also, do you like the my message I sent you guys? The Gurdon Gurgi is just haunting me still.
Well, I mean, why would it not?
Gurdon Gurgi.
That's gonna go on my fucking tombstone.
As
Yeah,
it should.
I'm gonna keep talking.
Yeah, I got stuff I gotta do, so I gotta go turn a road bike into a... Go ahead.
No,
Land the
no,
plane.
I was going to end it, so go for it. You got to turn.
Jesus. I gotta turn Dad's road bike into a stationary bike, so...
Ooh.
Yep. And then I gotta cut his hair because the barber college closed.
Ah.
Oh, that's such a great ending line.
Yep. This is what adulthood is sometimes, guys. This is what it is.
Don't scare me with this.
Uh,
Don't grow up, ever.
Yeah, even though I'm here, I'm still trying as hard as I can.
There you go.
So,
Perfect.
thank you all for joining us for episode number 4 of Camp Shenanigans. This one will see the light of day.
The only episode 4 of Camp Shenanigans that ever existed or will have ever existed.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, make sure to follow us at Cam Automag on all the social medias because occasionally we do stuff on there. Sometimes, maybe.
Here and there.
Mostly we're here. So
Yeah, we're around.
We will have audio format here shortly. I'm just waiting for that elusive email of Apple saying that we're live on Apple Podcasts. So technically you can subscribe anywhere else at this point in time. It's just waiting for that and then start publishing these episodes out. So look forward to seeing it on audio. And thank you. I will go ahead and mute Zach now. Yes, we already did that, Zach. You didn't see it.
There it is.
And thank you, Luke, for the questions. Really appreciate that. You are the MVP. Make sure to join us live so you can ask these questions yourself on YouTube and on Facebook every Monday, 7-ish p.m. Usually we schedule it for 7:05 because of giving a couple extra minutes time in case we're late. And today we were late, so it's a good thing. And Sam wants to let you know, no balls.
There it is.
Do it, Zach. Rotary swap to legacy.
Just prove how much you can hate yourself.
I contemplated rotary swapping the MR2.
No.
Don't.
Anyway, thank you for joining us. I have been Trent.
I have been Mike.
I've been Zach. Defeated.
You're not defeated. You're born again hard.